Greetings, commanders. We are going to try and take down in a hauler a simple Cyclops with plasma charges today. Now, typically this ship flies with a single small Guardian Gauss cannon, but we were chatting in our Discord and we say, well, what if we instead use plasma charges? How would that work? And so here we are, trying to use plasma charges, which are a very particular weapon, as at the end of the day, Gauss is a lot more effective in taking down hearts, as it has much better breach damage, so do shards, but plasma charges are incredibly effective at exerting, so at getting those hearts to show. And they're not that bad, as you can see, at sniping them. In this first heart, we managed to sort of take it down without taking any damage, at least so far. I managed to somehow avoid those swarm fire while I was getting out as well. I'm gonna empty my clip in between shots, in between attack runs, so I can start with a full clip. Kind of also looking how I'm doing I did take a little hit here, just enough to take 2% damage on my modular reinforcement package and 1% in my thrusters. Note that this build requires to turn off my hard points, to store my hard points for repairs to come online. But it otherwise works just fine. There's time in between hearts to do that unless you take a absolutely massive amount of damage, which we didn't, fortunately, in this case. And so here we are, completely repaired, redeploying our hard points, and just waiting a moment for the shield timer of the Thargoid Intercept to decay. In the meanwhile, I will position myself so that I can get the swarm out of the way, which is one of the annoying parts of this fight, since you can't have flak, obviously, since you have a single small hard point. But other than that, it's an interesting experience, as plasma charges behave very differently. You can hold your shots, unlike with Gauss or shards, which fire pretty much on release, although it does have a charge time like Gauss does. Now, I'm going to engage. I think the shield might still be up, but it's okay. It should go down there you go. It went down on the first shot. Now, the thing is, I'm kind of very far, so I'm trying to close my range by moving my orbit towards it quite aggressively, which I think I managed to do, because unlike Gauss, which has 1500 meters as effective range, plasma charges only have 1000 meters as effective range. So you gotta be much closer if you want to do kind of practical damage. They also are not any easier to hit with than, say, Gauss. I'm not sure I landed that shot. I actually can't see anything right now because of the cloud they leave behind. Now I'm really too far to do any practical damage, but I should. There you go. So 2 hearts down. Again, I empty my clip. This time I did not take any module damage, but I took 3% hull damage, which I might buy repairing since I have a repair links to do it. Might as well. And since I only have one heatsink left, I'm gonna synthesize heatsinks before the next attack run. This should be the only time I need to synthesize heatsink unless I do something fundamentally wrong over the course of the next pass. One other thing of notice is, in using plasma charges, I use trailing gunsight mode. This lets me see where my shots land instead of indicating me where I'm supposed to point my aim for me to hit the gun in a particular place. Why that's useful is because in a ship that doesn't let you practically have a Xeno scanner, you cannot sub-target hearts. And without sub-targeting hearts, the leading reticle only will ever point to the center of a Goid, making guessing where you're supposed to fire to hit the hearts a lot more complicated. Trailing sights mode instead just shows where your shots are going to land all the time, which makes positioning it on the pedals of the glowing hearts a lot easier than if we were to use the leading mode reticle instead. Now, in terms of overall orbiting, as you can see, I'm moving very fast, so the Goid is not even managing to hit me, even though I'm at 50% heat, which otherwise would normally be more than enough for it to lock on and hit me properly. That's generally true if you're moving at significant velocity. Now the shield has gone down and it's just entering its rearm cycle, so we're in a very good position to begin the next attack run. which I'm about to do just now. And let's see how it goes. Again, it's very hard to see anything like from that, especially from behind when you like have that crazy. Ooh, wow. So it armed lightning, but it went by so fast that it didn't manage to really hit us in a way that did any damage. But we are still pretty far to do consistent damage, so we gotta get closer, which we are. And here we go. So now we're trying to get away from Frequent Alarm to Frequent Alarm as fast as possible while staying code so that we don't trigger a shutdown field, which we managed to avoid on this last remaining heart. Again, we attract hard points to repair a little amount of damage that we took. Noting we cannot repair the AFMU with a single AFMU, which in most fights is generally fine. It's only in exceptionally long fights that you will want to have a second AFMU to repair like each other, like you do in some exploration builds, but that is an incredibly uncommon ship configuration. And I think we're fully repaired from a hull perspective. We may want to repair that 4% hull while we're at it. There we go. We have 6 heat sinks left, which is more than enough. Probably not only to do this last hard, but also to finish the fight afterwards. Again, unless we do something particularly wrong in the way we approach the next hard overall. We'll again empty our clip before we engage, so we don't have to wait on rearm, and we start with a full clip. Another good thing with plasma chargers is they have quite a bit of ammo. Compared to Gauss, which is notorious for having little ammo and requiring painful synthesis to allow you to do longer fights, plasma chargers start with a very generous amount of ammunition, and that limits the amount of synthesis that you need to do, which is a highly desirable trait for any weapon really in the game. Alright, let's see. The shield might still be up. No, it's not. So this was actually pretty good. This is a risky orbit insertion because the Void got really close, but it worked out fine in the end. Should be able to get it down another shot or two. Now I keep shooting because that was the last heart, so might as well get in a few shots. And now we just really wait for the last shield to go down and before we finish the fight. Again, if we want, we have the option to repair by storing our hard points and getting those few percentages that we lost back. Plasma chargers are interesting. They're a different weapon. They're quite different to use, and now I basically shut down my FMU by mistake, but it happens and it won't make a difference while I empty my clip. I was saying that plasma chargers are an interesting weapon, and it's hard to recommend plasma chargers as a weapon of choice for really almost any combat configuration. They're probably the best weapons at exerting Fargwitz there is, but their lack of breach damage makes sniping hearts incredibly difficult. Also, they're not hit-scan weapons like Gauss, which means aiming them is harder comparable to hit-scan weapons. All in all, they're weapons you should try, probably in a solo configuration, unless you really want to annoy any friends you bring along, which cannot gonna be able to see anything with the clouds that they leave behind. But they're interesting. The most interesting thing, at least in my personal limited experience in using them, is that you can actually hold your shots, which makes aiming them easier comparatively than, say, shards. Although they're still not quite up to snuff as to, for instance, Gauss cannons, which tend to be more precise with their hit scan nature. Again, their shield might still be up, but this is the final heart. Actually, just when we see visually, just saw it go down, and so we should be able to finish this fight very, very quickly at this point. There we go. And that's a Cyclops down with the tiny hauler and its little modified plasma charger. It should be possible to take down a Basilisk with the modified Plasma Channelers too. Actually, it's definitely possible. It's not easy, but definitely possible. And theoretically, it's possible to even try go for Medusa, although it's going to be incredibly hard. I might try it, I might not. We'll see what the future holds. In the meanwhile, fly safe, Commanders. Hope you enjoyed this video, learned something from it, and glory to mankind, as always. Commander Meccan, over and out.